What is up, everybody, and welcome back to Shooting the Shit Uncensored. I'm your host, Piers Austin, and today I am joined by a very special guest. But before I bring on my VIP guest for this evening / early morning for me, I just want to take the time to thank a few of our sponsors. First up is A-Rock Designs. Now, A-Rock Designs, you can find them on Facebook. They're the ones that are making all the custom wrestling cups, hoodies, keychains, tumblers, you name it, they make it. They sent me this beautiful CM Punk tumbler, which I absolutely love. If you want to get your hands on a wrestling cup, and they do stuff which isn't wrestling related. My kids even got a couple of cups from them with their little kid theme stuff, and they are absolutely amazing. So make sure you hit up Ashley Rodriguez at A-Rock Designs, and she will take care of you. My second sponsor is Signal Studios. Now, Signal Studios is a recording studio based here in Sydney, Australia, run by my best mate, Rafi Tomasian, and they have an amazing rehearsal space. So if you're a musician in the Sydney area, you want to find a place to come and record or just rehearse, you will not find a more comfortable setting to do that than Signal Studios. Even if you're a pro wrestler anywhere around the world, you need some new entrance music, hit up my boy Rafi. He'll be able to make you a really fly song, get it all packaged together and send that out to you. Guys, as well, if you'd like to support this show a little bit more, you can head over to our Pro Wrestling Tee store, which is prowrestlingtees.com/MWA World, where you can pick up such t-shirts like the Shooting the Shit Uncensored shirt, the 2020 Wrestling shirt, which is our wrestling game show every Wednesday night at 10:30 p.m. Australian time, which is 8:30 a.m. Sydney time. You can pick up our black and silver logo shirt or our anime shirt. So, guys, please make sure you head over there and check out those. And, guys, also tonight, my guest is Mr. Barry Horowitz, and I'm going to bring him in right now. Barry, thank you so much for coming on. So, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Pierce. It's an honor to do your show. That is one of the best intros I've ever seen on a podcast, interview, anything on the internet going. I'm very impressed. I'm impressed. I got to get a hold of Ralphie there. He probably did work for Keith Urban. Who knows?
Yeah, man. It took a lot of time to get that done. My good friend Christy, she got that done for me, and it's an amazing intro. So, Barry, look, man, thank you so much for coming in and sitting down with me today. It's a great honor. You've been involved in the world of professional wrestling since 1979, and you know, there's so many questions that I have. Firstly, getting in, how you, firstly, I just want to know, how have you been since the whole COVID mess that's been happening? I know that's put a lot of restrictions on people, but where are you and how's everything going for you at the moment?
Well, I'm in Florida, and, we're dealing with it like everybody else. I mean, we're just following the basic rules of social distancing, the masks, washing our hands. I was training at home for 2 months, and then our gym is back up, but they've got it all. Everywhere I go is situated for social distancing and, keeping everything covered and just following the rules. It's a matter of the people, rebelling and not wanting to do what you're told, and it's going to make it worse, which I don't understand that. But that's another story. But as far as that, my family and I are safe, and we're abiding by the rules, and we're doing pretty good. We live in a good area where everything is very close, walkable, drivable, and I have no complaints. It could be. I always say it could be much worse.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing where I am in Australia. It sort of got better, and then it sort of started to spike up again, and I'm in the same boat. It could be a lot worse, but just got to, unfortunately, we just got to live this new lifestyle with rules, and hopefully one day it'll go back to normal. So
yeah, that's true.
But Barry, breaking into the world of pro wrestling, you were trained by the legendary Boris Malenko. I did a little bit of research and found out. What was that experience like? Training under someone like Barry Malenko, and anyone who doesn't know Barry, his son is Dean Malenko. So what was it like training with? No, Barry was Boris Malenko.
Boris Malenko and Dean Malenko.
Boris, yeah, I apologize. Sorry, it's early morning here, so I'm still waking up without my coffee. But what was it like training under Boris Malenko?
Well, it was first of all, it was an honor, and I was glad to find him as a mentor because I mean, I see different other people that have been broken in the wrestling business, and some of did really well and by taught, and then some guys are getting taught by guys that are just been around a few years. So I was honored that he was retired and his sons are way ahead of the game even back then. And I'm so grateful the way I was taught to pay my dues and the foundation of pro wrestling was instilled in me. And I'm just grateful for meeting with him and him teaching me. And then, of course, the foundation of the house was built, but then the rest was going on the road and traveling with the likes of Steamboat and Briscoes and Youngblood and Rufus R. Jones, Jimmy Valiant, Bugsy McGraw, Ric Flair, Bob Orton Jr., Johnny Weaver. I can go on and on with these people. And it was just great, these great athletes to be around and just soak it up like a sponge and not be like some of these guys I run into nowadays. They're all know-it-alls, and they think they know not all of them, but they think they some are respectful, and then some are thinking they know the wrestling business overnight, and they want to be world champion the next day. It's all about paying dues and honing your craft and learning it right and respecting it, and that's how you get respect.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's one thing I'd like to know is like how many of the wrestlers that you see around running today do you think would have been able to make it back when you started breaking into the world of pro wrestling? It was a much harder time and a much different world altogether.
I don't think too many of them, because this is what would happen. You would have a group of guys that would be like myself, and just this is your dream. You got to pay your dues. You're not doing nothing illegal. You're not getting bones broken. You may be getting bruised and injured, but that's part of, that's part of the game of professional wrestling, getting beat up a little bit, getting stretched. I mean, again, just paying dues. It's not like your eyeballs taken out or anything. And some of these guys would just snap or break. I'm not doing this. I'm quit. They want to be in a nice air conditioned performance center and being catered and all stuff like that. And I know it's a new era, but old school is new school is old school. You could mix the two, and they both pay off. I mean, yeah. you could watch a professional football game, and you'll see stuff that happened in the 80s, 70s, and they're still doing it in 2000s and training the same way. So there must be something to it. But some of these guys would just, wuss out and quit or go to a more cushioned school or just not want to gut it out. And, I train 3 to 4 times a week after a part-time job, after training with the weights. I'd go to Malenko in a warehouse, 104 degrees in the summer, 40 in the winter, and I'm warming up for an hour. Then you're wrestling. Then you're learning to enter a ring and lock up and grab a headlock. You don't go right to suplexes and promos and chair shots. I mean, that's bullshit.
It's almost like you have to walk before you can run. You know what I mean? And you have to crawl before you can walk. And I think it comes to like society as a general. And I think a lot of younger people, they want things to happen right now. They don't want to wait. They don't want to work for it. They don't want to put in the effort to get to where they want to get to. Whereas like, if the life of pro wrestling was easy, then pro wrestling would be flooded with a lot more people. And I honestly believe that. But when you broke into the world and you started training with Boris, kayfabe was pretty much very much alive and well. Did you find it hard to initially break into just being trained, or were you lucky on that where Boris sort of said, "No, come on, let's get you started"?
No, I pursued for a long time, and it was hard to get in. It was like a secret society, and I was lucky I ran into a wealthy businessman. And it just so happens, and I mean, like I said, my father wasn't a wrestler. I had no really connections. The only thing I had going for me is that I am Jewish, and this multimillionaire was Jewish, and he liked me, and Boris Malenko's Jewish. So if that's my in, that's my in. But I still had to get interviewed physically and mentally and pass that test. And to get right to just back to train up just a second, when you were saying about if it was easy to quote the late great Dr. Death Steve Williams, hey kid, wrestling isn't ballet. If it was so easy, everybody could get in there. And it's not all about looking about 160 pounds, buying your stuff from Walmart, wrestling in the backyard. I mean, I know you got to start somewhere, but I never started that way. I just paid my dues. I had proper ring attire and whatnot and worked the indie shows. So it's not just about that. And you'll see a lot of great workers that don't fit the bill. That's great to do flying head scissors and the lucha libre style. There's nothing wrong with all of that, but it's all about taking care of yourself too, looking like an athlete, because a lot of guys are coming from, I liked wrestling and they got smartened up and they learned, but I took it right from 15 years old, started at a youth center, amateur wrestling, went through high school and went to college. So I've paid my dues with that respect to earn the respect of the word wrestling. I emphasize wrestling. That's what it says on the marquee. Yeah. And so that's how I look at it. And I think it helped my career better being a more intense athlete. A lot of people don't know that because when I was in the locker rooms, I never said what I did, my background. Nobody cared either. I really don't think pro wrestling, in my eyes, is a team sport like the NFL or NBA. I mean, maybe you got some guys or some cliques and your buddies and you're making money together, but top to bottom, I don't think it's a whole team effort. And it's a shame because it should be.
Yeah, I mean, look, pro wrestling, when you get in there, it's not trying to take the head off your opponent. It's working with your opponent and protecting your opponent. And I definitely see that it should be a team effort because, everyone needs to do their part in order to put the asses in the seats and to make the show entertaining for the fans. And that's the most important part, is getting those people through the door, getting the people to tune in every week. And that's why the stories are very well known. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're totally right, and it's a shame. You'll get some guys, I could see it in their eyes at some of these indie shows. I do seminars and meet and greets, and I'll get to that in a minute, what I've been doing. But my meet and greets and seminars, hands-on amateur wrestling and wrestling and conditioning, a certified sports nutritionist from FSU. When I preach this or talk about it, you could see some of these guys, unless they're great actors, they're legit into it. And then you got some guys, they know it all. I always get one in the back of the class. He knows it all. He don't know a wrist lock from a wristwatch, but he's got to go over and he don't do jobs. See, I don't respect punks and marks. And I mean that in a bad way. A deliberate mark. You're a mark if you think that way. This is the land of make-believe. It is pro wrestling. Athleticism is at its highest, and you should respect that. But if you're worried about your win-loss record, quit pro wrestling, sign up for UFC, let Brock Lesnar beat the shit out of you in 20 seconds.
Exactly. And,
you'll learn how to respect the business.
And exactly, that's the thing. I mean, in pro wrestling, you can't expect to, start training one week and then next week going, well, I'm going to call Vince McMahon and I'm going to be on Raw probably the Monday after. Then maybe a half a week later, I'll win the IC title. And then maybe 3 weeks later, I'll go on and win the It doesn't work that way. And it never has. And, it has worked in the past, AKA Big Show. But, that is... when you're 7+ foot tall and like that, then those things happen. But
you're right. Some of that, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Piers. Sorry. No, I get going here. There's so many things in my head when these controversial stories happen. Yeah, you could be the greatest worker. I've seen guys in Kentucky back in the day, 20 years ago, unbelievable. I go, why aren't these guys somewhere else? Well, number one, their work ethic. They didn't look like a wrestler, but they could do all the moves because they're watching TV and so forth. But it's this much more than that. You could be the greatest worker. You could be 7 foot tall. I remember back in the day, Mega Man Tom McGee from Canada. He looked better than the Ultimate Warrior. He worked better. Well, anybody could outwork the Ultimate Warrior. But anyway, I don't even want to get on that tangent. I mean, when it comes to people with face paint, the Road Warriors, Demolition, and Sting. That's it. There may be a few others, but that's my main guys that I like and that could tout the makeup. And of course the original Doink, Matt Bourne. But you got these guys 7 foot and whatever. Not, I mean, Kevin Nash's did well, but who would think, the great Khali, a flash in a pan? Because eventually they're going to see through this. He's not drawing money. He can't work. You can't do that. And you can't have long matches because you'll expose the business. You got to have short matches with these guys because they're limited. Nothing against them. I'm calling it like it is if I was a booker or if I'm putting together a match. This is what I've learned from the business. Now, if you're Bret Hart, Owen Hart, Barry Horowitz, Brad Armstrong, Steve Armstrong, any of the Armstrongs, any of these guys that are technical wrestlers, we could pull off 1 minute and we could pull off 1 hour and without talking to each other. Yeah. That's because we're good workers. That's just the way it is. Now, when you're limited, and nothing against them, I mean, some of these guys draw incredible money. That's just their niche, and they repeat certain things. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just biased on my background and my work ethic and technical wrestling. That's why I'm called Mr. Technical, Piers.
That's exactly. And you know what you mentioned, 100%, Barry. But you mentioned the great Khali, and as a wrestling fan, whenever I would see him in the ring and having a match, I felt uncomfortable for him. I always felt like he was just awkward in the ring, in pain, and just to be honest, he didn't look like he belonged on that level. You know what I mean?
No,
like
he got a good little push. I hope he saved his money, and he seems like a good guy. I mean, he was better in The Longest Yard. He looked better with Adam Sandler, the movie, but good for him. I mean, he did have a little bit of a run. If I was these guys, these types of guys, or even some of the girl wrestlers, and I'm not knocking them because the girl wrestlers have stepped up. I mean, it's huge. They're big. They're being trained, as far as I know, by men, and they're wrestling like men, which is awesome. It looks great, but your shelf life is limited. Not everybody could be Becky Lynch or Charlotte Flair or any of these great competitors. So my advice is just save your money. Believe me, you get a 3 year run with Vince in that position, you could retire. You don't need to stay out till 4 a.m. and have $900 bar bills and stay at the Marriott every night and buy a $5 million house when you could buy $1 million house and drive a $450,000 Mercedes or Lamborghini. You don't need to live above your means, but that's another story. You're not some of these guys. I mean, it happens in football. It happens everywhere, and I don't know. I think just hone your craft, keep your mouth shut. There's nothing wrong with that. A lot of people think, oh, you're being scared. I'm committed to my motel room and I can't do this and I can't do that. Is it that bad? You know how many people would love your spot? Do that after you're done with wrestling. Do that with your family when you go home. Have fun and everything. Respect the business. Don't be a statistic. And don't be a statistic with death either. Because it's not cool. It's not the in thing to do.
No, and you look over the years, and obviously Barry, through the generations that you wrestled in, early on in your career, a lot of guys, they seem to pass very, very young in their late 30s and 40s, and leaving young kids and families behind, and my heart breaks for that. And I think that from what you see in this day and age of professional wrestling, the wrestlers aren't, I think it's to do with a lot of the technology that's out there these days and the social media, that these guys are scared to even sneeze in the wrong direction before getting into not wanting to get into any trouble. So do you think that in this day and age the guys are going to have a much longer quality of life long term because they can't essentially go and do what the guys were doing years prior?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what's going on in the locker room now or how the travel arrangements are. I feel for him traveling, though, with all this controversy with security. I mean, that's brutal, but I mean, it's just you do your best, and what I mean by that is, you train hard, you eat right, you do your matches the best you can. Try not to get really that much injured. Try to follow all the rules. I mean, do everything, and if that don't work, you got to reassess yourself and say, what the heck happened? How come? And then that little thing at the end of that contract, or whatever you want to call it in your mind or on paper, is the politics of the business.
Yeah. And, you mentioned, what they put their bodies through as well. And, pro wrestlers have probably one of the hardest lives in what they have to do. I mean, getting in and having a wrestling match has been compared to sustaining a small car accident. Put into consideration that you're having your match, you're traveling, you're having to eat right, work out, get minimal sleep, over time, that's going to take its toll on anybody. And
you're totally right. And then you got to put up with some of the bullshit in the locker room, the controversies. I don't know how it is now, but I hope it's changed, because come on, guys, don't be a bunch of babies. I mean, there's ways of sticking up for yourself and conducting yourself in a finish or the business itself, but it's easier to get along and go along. It's easier to follow the rules than break them. I remember Cowboy Ron Bass said that to me one time. I was traveling with him, and he's totally right, and rest in peace, Ron. I liked Ron. I really didn't get to know him really that well until his later years, and he's a pretty good guy. He trained hard. He worked hard in the ring. I mean, yeah, he was the Cowboy Ron Bass. I mean, he's legit. But there's a lot of guys like that, and I don't know. I don't know. I was never a follower. I was always a leader. That could have been probably some of my issues. I heard something about 3 weeks ago, and I'm not a big internet fan. I stay, connected to social media with the help of my son for publicity reasons and to get my name out there, because God forbid somebody hires me as a coach at a performance center or any of these major organizations. I mean, I got so much heat in the wrestling business. You don't want me, and I look like shit and I can't work. And of course I'm being sarcastic, because I could outwork half of these guys and outteach them. I'm not saying all of them. I'm just being upfront. I'm calling it like it is. Because there's some coaches out there, I don't know how they got that job. I don't know how. Well, I do know how. They know different people and whatnot. That's fine. If you want to conduct business that way, I'm not out to take nobody's spot. I'm out to improve the product. And if I have to prove myself, I shouldn't have to. My resume speaks for itself. You're a fool not to hire me. A fool. Am I going to show up drunk? Am I going to show up on time? Am I going to show up in shape? Am I going to teach your guys the wrestling business physically and mentally? In the locker room, outside there, and in the squared circle. It needs to be taught immensely. But maybe they don't want somebody like me. And getting back to, I'm jumping tracks here. I heard a podcast by Jim Cornette. And I know Jim and I don't know him. I know him from different travels of NWA and when he was with Bobby Eaton and the original Midnight Express. And I was told, and I heard it, I guess somebody asked about me, and he made a great point that I missed. I mean, I don't know everything. You could teach an old dog new tricks, but he said everything about me put over, and he says, you can listen to it. You can archive it. Look for it if you'd like. It was about 3 weeks ago, and a caller asked a question about me, and he says, Barry Horowitz was too good. He's never late. He followed all the rules. He worked. So why they needed him in that position? Why push him elsewhere? Which they did. But if that was my job, star maker, I don't mind that, because not everybody could be a winner. Not everybody could be the Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, Drew McIntyre, all these guys. It's just not going to happen. So if you're having a job and that's your slot, and you're getting compensated well and respected, that's pretty good, because you could say no and you're going to sit at home or do indies or Japanese wrestling or go to Japan, but you're better off with a bigger company. So accept it, because if you rebel, it's not going to work out. I've seen a lot of guys rebel and it didn't work out for them. Half of them are not in the business. They're in jail. They've killed themselves. They look like shit. They're in a wheelchair. So there's nothing wrong with that, and you should respect that. It's just, I've had many wrestlers come up to me to this day. How come Vince didn't do this? How come he didn't push you more? How come you didn't get? I go, you know what? And I'm serious. I mean, I could tell this song and dance story all day, but the bottom line is, go ask Vince. Go ask his cronies and his sidekicks or his stooges, whoever report the matches. I don't know. But the bottom line is, ask Vince and, excuse me, and his number, whoever's on the side of him, doing this stuff. But maybe I was too nice. Maybe I should be a shooter now with my words. And right now, I don't really give a damn, and I'm older now. People like me. They respect me, the fans. They know the true thing. They know the true Barry Horowitz. So I'm not worried about that. I'll pat myself on the back, shoot style, any day of the week. And if they don't like it, suck it.
You know what, Barry, and that's the, but that's the thing. You mentioned. Sorry, you threw me off there for a second. Yeah, we'll just get the pat on the back done now. So, yeah. But Barry, and that's the thing is, you mentioned, you were obviously, as Cornette said, too good, because you were consistent. You were there. You could be in the ring. You were on time. You were in shape. And you did the right thing. So you were everything that they needed for someone to be reliable. But, to not get pushed. And I think that, you definitely had the talent to be one of the top stars in that generation. Yeah. You definitely had the skill and also the in-ring work ethic as well. You could see that by watching what you do in the ring.
Oh, I'm not a fan of my own press, or I'm not a legend in my own mind. But these marks are smart now, the smart marks, and I respect them. They know what's going on. And it perplexes me a little bit. It's just the nature of the beast. And the fans know what's going on. And like I said, the smart marks, especially nowadays, because wrestling's been exposed a little bit. And they know what's going on. It's almost like a reality show. They go with it, and they respect it to a certain point. Most of my fans do, especially Japanese and fans overseas in Australia, New Zealand, and England, and Germany, and Austria. Very respectful. Japanese in Tokyo, phenomenal. They respect good workers, because if you don't work good in Japan, you're on the plane the next day. You're going home.
Yeah. I mean, the expectation of the Japanese is, is on that next level. You've seen all of the, even the Japanese audiences as well, like working over in that environment, where it's pretty much like the guys are sitting on their hands. It must be quite a culture shock for a lot of people when they go over there from wrestling in the US, the UK, or any other Western country in the world, and going to Japan and experiencing that. Once you went over there, was that something it took you a little bit of time to get used to? Was the silence from the crowd?
No, not at all. I was smartened up about it, and I knew they loved wrestling. So no ring jacket, no patting myself on the back, just straight wrestling. See, that's the difference between a good wrestler and great wrestler. I could go out there with Undertaker and make him look great in 1 minute if that's what they want. Do I like that? I don't really care. And it's not I don't give a shit, don't care. I mean it for my career. What are you going to rebel and not want to do it? I mean, it's business. If you don't believe me, watch an episode of All Elite from last week and watch Cody Rhodes get his ass fucking beat. Not only beat, not an inch, he got a comeback. And the man beat him in the middle with his finish. You know what I call that? Respect and business. Props to Cody. I don't even know him. I'm not looking for a job. I'm not trying to kiss his ass. I call it like it is. See, I'm not like these other wrestlers. They won't put over guys' names. They won't do this, won't do that. sometimes I don't mention certain people's names, but I call it like it is if I like you or not. And if I really don't like you, like the guy with the face paint and shaking the ropes, I don't mention his name too much.
Yeah.
But what I'm getting at is that's business, and I respect that. But then they'll ask me, hey, could you go out there with Bret Hart on Raw or a house show and pull 15 with him? Now, that's going to be a better match because I know how to work. Bret knows how to work. We're going to have an unbelievable match. Now, when I go out there with a guy that's, he just knows a clothesline and a body slam, I got to work around that and make him look like he can work so he can put asses in the seat. I realize my job. That's why I was picked for it. I'm flattered because a lot of guys can't do that. They won't do it or they can't do it. Make the guy look like shit. Then the guy he's green and he gets all pissed, starts yelling at him at a ring, and people could hear this live at ringside. It's not good. It's not a professional atmosphere.
No, not at all. Kevin Rodriguez, he has thrown a comment up saying he's always enjoyed Barry's work and saying it's been a great interview so far. Kevin's a good friend of mine from Georgia, the United States, does a show similar to this one, Barry.
Hey, Kevin.
Also, Knuckles or Hug Knuckles TV, my good friend Hugs, he's saying Barry looking ripped as more ripped than ever. Damn.
Oh,
so Barry's definitely taking care of himself, man.
I'm glad you said that. I got to put myself over for a minute because I train my ass off. But when you're wrestling and you're mid-card, Pierce, you got to be on time. You can't be worn out for your match. And nothing against these people, but I can't come in late like Undertaker or Hulk Hogan or these main event guys because they're where they're at and they deserve it. They went to the gym. So I got to get my gym in early. But then when I left the business and I did indies, and right now, like I said, I'm doing personal training. I'm sports nutrition. I do a lot of meet and greets. There's no reason for me to take bumps no more. I'm not going to get hurt. There's no reason. I've already had separated shoulders, broken neck, dealing with a knee injury as we speak. So I live in the gym and see, I'm not taking bumps. I can concentrate. So my training has been better. And at my age and my ailments, I mean, I'm 230 pounds, 6 foot, 8% body fat. I'm deadlifting. I'm doing everything, but I'm doing it right, smarter training. And my diet is insane. It's great. I'm very happy with all my accomplishments. And I'm glad I've picked up a lot from schooling and from being around pros. I mean, I was training when I was wrestling for WWF. I was training at Gold's in Santa Monica. You pick up tips from pros, but I listen and respect. And if the guy's a jack off, I still listen and respect, but I stay away from him next time. I just I understand certain people. You gotta get worldly, and the wrestling business is almost like an institution or a college, if you will, of getting smart in life. I mean, some guys it ruins, and some guys it smartens up. So I've been really taking care of myself. And here's my deal: when I come to a meet and greet, this is how I look at it. I treat my gym and the meet and greet and a lot of things in my life like I did wrestling. What do I mean by that? I got to get to the gym. I don't need to be talking or BSing. I need to train hard, get there on time. The meet and greets, I need to be right on that plane at the right time. When I get off that plane, dressed, my dress attire accordingly, my look, my tan. So when these fans see me, they respect me. They go, holy shit. I'm going to say, if I talk to 10 fans, I swear to you, 9 of them go, Barry, you look like you did in the 90s. And I thank them. And since lately, I've changed my look a little bit. I've grown my hair long because I've been keeping it short for 20 years. And I was keeping my beard very thin, so I grew that out. Just a little change up, just like you change your training regimens and diet. But the fans are very respectful, and they like that. And they like me paying attention to them and meeting them because I'm sincere about it, because I have a P.O. box, and I get at least 3 to 5 pieces of mail every week that I handwrite everybody back. Every single time they get it within, if it comes Monday, it's in the mailbox Wednesday. It doesn't take long. I handwrite it. They want a signature. They want a picture, certain things like that. I treat almost things like a shoot, but not over obsessive.
Yeah.
See, I remember Bob Backlund told me this one time. He says, your training, your matches, you don't want to be too much over, but you don't want to be, I'll eat a hot dog before the match. I don't give a shit. I'm going 3 minutes. You don't want that. You want to be right in the middle. And if you can retain in the middle, think about having weights or a scale, and you got to really work at that to keep it. You don't want it this way. You don't want it that way. You got to keep it just like that. It's hard, but it builds character and it builds enthusiasm. It builds focus. It builds a lot of things that are necessary for life and as an athlete. And that's why I admire people like Tom Brady and Peyton Manning.
Yeah, because they can find that balance in order to be that high-performing athlete that they are, but without going too overboard or being too underwhelming or not taking it seriously. And I think that's, the main point. And you look at, professional wrestlers that are working for either AEW, WWE, or any major promotion, to really be seasoned and to be able to do that is to be able to know, when to put your foot on the accelerator, when to ease off, when to put it on the accelerator or when to ease off. And I think that in wrestling, and you still see it in a lot of matches today with a lot of the younger talent, is that some of these guys just putting the foot to the metal and just going as hard as you can. And you can, as a fan, and you've always heard these stories of, older generations of wrestlers telling the younger generations of wrestlers to slow down. As a wrestling fan myself, and as I've gotten older and appreciating wrestling, I now understand what that means when I'm watching a wrestling match, where it's like, okay, now I can understand why they say slow down in this spot.
If you go too fast, the fans miss it. If you go too slow, you got to have a happy medium. That's why my matches were always a little bit of both. You rarely seen me repeat anything. I may do a punch, a headbutt. I may follow it up with a couple of European uppercuts, forearms, but I wasn't repetitive. Why? I'm not a limited worker. I may Monday night to Owen Hart, I may do a Northern Light suplex, a black suplex. I may work with him the next night, or maybe I'm working with Brad Armstrong Tuesday night. I'm going to work his leg. I'm going to leg drag him. I'm going to hook his leg. I'm going to try to put him in a submission. I'm going to try to pin him. See? So I have a plethora of holds, and I like that I grabbed to that and gravitated to that, because that's what kind. So when people come see me, they go, this guy's a pro wrestler. This guy is not limited. He's throwing drop kicks. He's doing spots. It's just not punch kick, and these long, cartoonish, choreographed spots. You smarten up the people. And if you're going to do that, do one. The short, fast ones are better. It's not being lazy. It's being psychology, and it's being smart. There's a difference.
Yeah. And understanding on what works where and how it works as well. So,
yeah.
But let me ask you this, Barry. Like, intergender wrestling seems to be making a pretty big impact on wrestling at the moment. Everybody knows my opinions of intergender wrestling, and I wanted to get your thoughts. Mine, and I'll just let you know where I stand with intergender wrestling, is, for me, pro wrestling needs, as a fan, it needs to be believable. I need to be able to escape reality and think this is a legitimate contest.
Yeah,
I find it hard to see that when I'm seeing a 5-foot woman at 120 pounds pinning cleanly a 6'6" dude at 300 pounds. If you can make an intergender match look believable and suspend that disbelief, and some people can, like Lufisto and many other women, but it takes a very fine line to do it. What's your thoughts on intergender wrestling?
I mean, I agree with you. I have seen it done on definitely not WWE. I have seen it done on Ring of Honor, and I have seen it done on All Elite, where they make sense of it. I like that. It's almost like chopping a tree down. You start at the knees and legs, and a shoot, it makes sense. And then I've seen, maybe in a year, only 2 or 3 matches. I call them slaughter matches or glom matches. The heel gets it all in and beats them. They do that a lot on other companies. I don't agree with that totally. People don't like that, especially the smart marks. They don't like it, but sometimes it is needed in a proper way. I mean, if his back's turned and you want to glom him and it's quick, but let them get something in. So that's my opinion on that. I do like AEW's philosophy. I don't know who's calling all the shots and who's directing the parade, but it looks like they're telling everybody in here, from curtain jerker first match to the main event, you have a competitive match. And so far, that's what I've been seeing. And I love competitive. So when Cody gets beat, when Ricky Morton gets beat, when Robert Gibson gets beat, I mean, when Kaz gets beat, these are what the people say. They go, that darn Christopher Daniels got beat, but he put up a hell of a fucking fight. That fucker is he's a friggin' soldier. He's a man. That's what you want. You'll see it all the time. Watch Rocky. Watch all these movies, Rocky. Watch the friggin' Super Bowl. The Patriots don't always win. See, let's put it this way, and this is the way it's got to be. There has to be a winner. There has to be a loser. Just the way it is.
No, 100% correct. 100% correct. And that's the thing. It's the thing is with wrestling, and I find it more in these days, is you can actually see when there's a win and there's a loss. The guy who's taking the loss, it's not the end of the world. Like, you can see that you could get in there and lose a wrestling match, and it can actually elevate careers, not completely.
You're right.
End guys
You're
out.
right.
And you've seen that time and time again. I mean, look at the guys that have gone up against Undertaker at WrestleMania over the last 20 plus years. You know what I mean? Like, you look at AJ Styles. He got beaten this past WrestleMania. Would you say that he got buried? Well, he did actually get buried on in the storyline. But you know what I mean? Like, it's not. He came across looking so much better because he was able to have that match with someone like Taker.
See. Look at the size of AJ. Look at Undertaker. What I got to see, and I don't know the behind the scenes, but obviously they respect one another, which I respect a lot. I hope they did. I think they did. It was an unbelievable match, and they both fed off of each other, and it was. That's the way. I mean, that's the way it should have been done. It was good, and you don't see AJ, not that I know of, bitching or complaining. He wouldn't be there. He's still got a job. They still put him over, and he's under contract. So kudos and props to AJ. I've only met AJ once. It was in Georgia on an indie show. He probably don't even remember, a long time ago. But I respect his work. I respect his new look. I respect his training, because he looks better now than he did in TNA.
Agree. I agree.
I like him as a heel. And that was a spectacle. That was something. That was like a friggin' movie.
But you know what? Like, I thought it was great. And as a wrestling fan, like, I sit there and see the cinematic matches, and you're probably the perfect person to ask about this, Barry. But you see the cinematic matches, and people. If I was to sit down with someone who's never watched wrestling in the world and got them to watch AJ versus Taker, you know what I mean? Like, for me, when I was asked about it, I said this: if I was watching a TV series, if I was watching a fight scene in a movie, it was great. Pro wrestling, not so much. You know what I mean? I'm old school, Barry. And what's your thought on that?
I'm glad you said that. Great question. Great observation. I got to totally agree with you. Here's the thing. I'm old school and new school. I believe in new school teaches old school teach. They correspond with one another. You got to have both. I've seen it in other genres of Hollywood, country music, the NBA, the NFL, hockey, everywhere. You got to have both.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the only thing is, I do like the wrestling match, and I like that. It was almost like a movie, and it was almost, I mean, I don't know, I wasn't there, but it's almost easier because it's edited. You do a scene and you close it down. There's no fans there. You could just do whatever you want. It's almost too easy in my eyes.
Yeah.
Now, what's hard is go out there and call that match in the ring and don't talk about it. Now you're working your ass off. But if it's laid out for you and you mess up, oh, let's do it again. Like, again, it's like Hollywood cut. Let's do the scene over. And the only reason they're doing that style is because of the COVID virus. That's the only reason.
I mean, I think they made great, for what the situation they were in. It's just like I said, it's, me personally, I think the cinematic matches are a cool effect. But I'm an old school wrestling fan. I'm not going to sit there and go, it's not like Flair versus Steamboat, back in the day. You can't put that in.
Yeah, at the Charlotte Coliseum and they're the main event. No, it's hard to top that. And people love that. You could educate the fans to like hardcore, to like women's wrestling, little people's wrestling, or an amateur match, or a professional match, or a hardcore match. I believe there's a place for each one of them on the card. Otherwise, if it was the same 8 matches, people would be bored. You got to have some kind of entertainment there.
I agree 100%. But one of the things I really wanted to know, and obviously, throughout your career, you were definitely one of the guys that, as you said, the star maker. Were you ever put in did you ever find any of the boys? And I probably think that this generation, or the generation then, there was a lot more camaraderie than you would find in a lot of other generations. But did you ever find guys, the top stars would sometimes look down on some of the mid-carders or the enhancement talents, as they're called? Or was everyone, no, you make me, that's why I appreciate you being here and doing that? Or were a lot of the big sort of names sort of going, piss, what I mean, like just sort of disrespectful in any ways?
Yes, definitely. I'd say there was definitely both. Just off the top of my head, the ones that really appreciated somebody like myself, just off the top of my head. I mean, I got a ton of people. I'm not going to go into all of this, but Piper, Morocco, Hogan, Orndorff, yes. And then you got some guys like look down and think what you said. Right off the top of my head is the Warrior, Bam Bam Bigelow. There's a couple of other jamokes that I'm not going to even mention their names. They're not worthy of putting over, verbally, physically, or not. I totally, they weren't taught right. It's disrespectful, and they should be grateful. And then trying to tear their head off or whatever. You're hurting these guys. They're not working. It's not cool. It's just not, you want a friend in the wrestling business, buy a dog.
That's exactly right. But that's the thing when you're getting in the wrestling business. And I interviewed Randy Hogan the other week, and and that was one of the things he said is like, a lot of the guys did appreciate the work that we did, but some guys there were that sort of overlooked us or spoke down in a disrespectful manner. And you those sort of guys are everywhere in any career.
How dare them look down? Because they could be in that position anytime. I don't care who you are, a giant or we're not. I've seen it on indie shows and I've seen it on small shows. They're getting their ass beat, and you go, God, this guy could be a main eventer. They should respect that. They think they're king shit on Turd Island, and it's not cool. I don't like it. It's just totally, it's out of character. And you know what I call those guys? Or let's just say I'm supposed to get hired. Well, you did jobs or something. Well, I did. I put people over, and I did carry titles. I was pushed in independent territories. I was pushed at SummerSlam with Skip. So don't give me that ha-ha and gaga bullshit story. You're afraid I'm going to take your spot. Well, up your game, okay? And learn how to fucking work.
Exactly. And it's really sad that guys would have that mentality. It's like they're clinging on to my spot, and
you're right. You're getting me worked up again, Piers. I'm ready to climb through this screen and sleeper hold you. I'm just teasing.
Well, I hope not, Barry. Jeez, I'm sure you're a lot bigger than I am. But but that's the thing. It's like there has to be people to, obviously take the wins, and there's also people that has to take the L's as well. But it's, you should always be respecting the people that are helping you get to where you've gotten to in your career or in life in general.
If more guys would adapt to the business and have a fun match, I don't mean a lazy match. I've had tons of them with Owen Hart. I've had more wrestling. I've wrestled Owen Hart more than anybody in the world. I've wrestled Owen Hart the first night. I picked him up at the airport in Bristol, Tennessee with Chief Jay Strongbow. He was the Blue Blazer at Viking Hall, and I wrestled him as Owen Hart, the Blue Blazer, 2 different gimmicks. He was with that weird gimmick with Coco, which I don't think he liked. He was king of the ring. I wrestled him so many times, and here's the secret, folks, when you're out there. Get the match over, not you. What do I mean by that? If I'm wrestling Rick Steamboat, if I'm wrestling Don Morocco, Roddy Piper, whoever, Reno Riggins, Ben Jordan, Sam Houston, Jake the Snake, let's get the match over, okay?
Yeah.
Not just you, not the ref, the whole match. Let's have some fun. Nobody gets hurt. Everybody's happy. You shake hands. It shouldn't be pulling teeth and have to shoot on each other or give receipts out there. But sometimes it has to be that way because, here's the big one now, because you're a fucking mark for yourself. Get over it. When you leave that ring, I'm not Mr. Technical with my family. Learn to separate it. If you want to watch Tom Cruise, Keanu Reeves, they know how to do it. It's part of the acting, but we have athleticism too, and you have to pay attention to that too. It's just not all about, I'll give you a hip toss. I mean, excuse me, you have to get to the gym. You have to do these things. You have to hone your craft. You have to watch film after film after film. I did it all my life. I watched Georgia Championship Wrestling, world class. I wanted to learn the great Kabuki leg breaker. I watched him do it 100 times on world class. Rewind, forward, rewind. I finally perfected it. Kurt Hennig did it, but he did it in a different way than I did. I did it the way Kabuki did it. Kurt did it a different way. And there's a guy. I go out with him on TV and stuff. Like, hey, make sure you get your Northern Light suplex in, do this, Bear. I said, really, Kurt? He says, yeah. That's because he's a businessman. He knows how to get over. He knows how to get me over. And if anybody's bitching, I heard one guy say, I'm not going to mention names, but I'll never forget this. I worked in Poughkeepsie, New York. I think it was a Monday Night Raw. Excuse me again. And I wrestled Lex Luger. And I'm not a big fan of Lex or his work. I mean, he's all right as he got older. He's finally smartened up and whatnot. But I will say one thing. When I worked with Lex, he never hurt me. Best press slam in the business. But that night, he sold his ass off for me. But he went over. And one of the top guys comes up to, I don't know if he came up to me or Lex and said, who are they trying to get over, you or Barry? Another Mark statement. Why did you say that? Again, you're stupid, you're ignorant, and you're a mark. I didn't hear Vince saying that. I didn't hear the agent saying it. Keep your fucking mouth shut and mind your own business. Worry about your own jabroni match.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it just doesn't make sense why some people have to be on that level and think that they're superior. Yeah, I can definitely understand why. But, Barry, before we are getting close to that 1 hour mark, but one of the things I did want to speak to you about, and you did mention it earlier, is your match with Skip at SummerSlam. With your feud with Skip, was there talks about having you, getting that push and going into a mid-card title reign, or was it sort of just week by week?
No, it was just a surprise. I was just told, actually Kevin Nash smartened me up a little bit, and I thought it was a rib. Everybody likes to rib in the wrestling business. Harmless ones are good. The ones the Bulldogs did were not good, not cool. I don't think they put up with that crap anymore. But anyway, that's another story. But I thought it was a rib, so I was always taught to go along with it. Not to be naive, but, that's bullshit. I just went along with it, and it was true. I talked to Pat Patterson and catering. After catering was over, we talked. He went over with me. We're going to see how this goes. And I knew, you give me that little taste, I'm gonna pursue. I've been waiting on this all my life. And I'm happy that they saw it. I think they watched matches with Skip. And I had one in the Bradley Center in Milwaukee. And agent was Jack Lanza. And I like Jack Lanza. He was an agent. Some guys don't like him, but that's the wrestling business. And I think he reported that match, and they said, we should do something with this. And it worked out well. I was captain of my team at Survivor Series. It promoted me into the main event in the Boston Gardens, the Shawn Michael and the Knights against the Hart Foundation, the whole Hart family. It was supposed to be Lawler, but I had some legal matters. I was the Red Knight. I got to take Terry Funk's place, which is a friggin' honor. I mean, everybody under contract has to be at every event. And I was ready. I mean, every time I wrestled TVs at the gorilla position, I'm sure people know what that is. I'm pumped, got the oil on, got everything. I am ready to go. Do you know how many times? 5 seconds before I hit that curtain, hey, your match has been canceled. Did I get mad? Hell no. Did I kick garbage cans and yell like a big stupid goof and a mark and let the Stooges hear and report that back to the office? I said, thank you. I got paid for doing my push-ups and putting my trunks on and stretching. That's my job. I'm on the road. Okay? I had no problem with that. I mean, there's many times. It wasn't my fault they had to scrap the match. It's live. You just can't fit it in, or it's a dark match or something. We need 5 more minutes for the main event. So, yeah,
I mean, it would be disappointing, but it's not like, you know, you kicking a garbage can is not going to make it better.
I've seen guys do that. I never sold it. I never put it over. And getting back to the Skip story, that's what happened. And Skip and I, same mindset. He respected me. I respected him. Nobody got hurt. Unbelievable matches. We told a story, but the whole surprise, and I'll repeat myself, the big surprise is we're not marked for each other. Get the match over, and that's what we did. Skip listened to me. I listened to him. Sonny, she's another story. Woo-hoo.
Chris Candido was a guy with such a went so young and almost like a wasted talent. He's a guy that could have been, he looked great. His personality was great. He had all the traits to be a main event player.
He was a good guy. I felt bad for Chris a little bit too. I think he had a tutor, Ahmed Johnson, back in the day, and basically was getting hurt. Yeah, he was getting hurt. I felt bad for him because he didn't complain too much, but he was telling me he was busted up a little bit. But again, in the wrestling business, here today, gone tomorrow. All these guys playing these ribs and thinking this shit's really cool 20 years ago, and I'm in the limelight. Where are they now? I'm going to tell you where they are. They're broke, they're dead, they're in a wheelchair, or they're the lucky ones, like a Bob Orton Jr., Don Morocco, Bob Backlund. They're counting their money, they're staying in shape, and they're not a mark for themselves or the business. They got their head on straight.
Do you think that the major promotions, like the WWEs and AEWs in this generation, in this time frame of society, should be investing in, financial counseling for the guys? Like saying, this is what you should, because a lot of these guys are like in their mid-20s, and earning big money. And should they have something in place to say, teach these guys on how to be smart with their money?
I don't know if you're supposed to be babysitted or not, and you should learn this on your own. Maybe it is a good idea. I think they have a rehab program. But here's the thing. I've heard guys, I won't mention their names, that made millions. And they're broke now, or they don't have insurance. And I'm going, well, wait a minute. I made 1/10 of what you made. Buy some health insurance. Don't live above your means. You don't have to live in a $5 million house. It could be 500,000. And again, with the cars and the nightlife and the drugs and the following, be a leader, and you won't be a statistic and laughed about. Because if you're gone, these guys aren't worried about if your bills are being paid by your wife or your kids. They don't care. No. Not all of them. not going to stereotype. I'm not being negative. I'm being truthful. I'm not trying to expose this guy and that guy. I'm being honest. And if these guys don't like it, too bad, because I really don't care, because you don't respect me, I don't respect you. And I'm tired of being Mr. Nice Guy and keep my mouth shut. I'm not under contract. I don't give a fuck. I don't have to do what you say. Okay, I'm a grown-ass man, and I'll outwork your fucking ass.
100%. But look, we have been going for a little bit, just over the 1 hour mark. Over the 1 hour mark. We are going to play Guess the Aussie Slang game. But before we get into that, Barry, why don't you tell us what you've been up to lately, man? What you've been got going on?
Yeah, I've alluded to that.
Social media.
Yeah, just the sports nutrition and the meet and greets are really been very good to me. The live auctions on the internet. I did one in New York a couple of weeks ago. I'm going back in a couple of weeks. It's really good. My biggest thing is the cameo.com, my Facebook, prowrestlingtees.com has 4 beautiful shirts of mine. I'm wearing one of them now. They have 4 different ones. I think they're developing more. I have another company developing another action figure, shirt, and actual ink pens. And my big one is my Funko Pop, which is unbelievable. It's incredible. You could go to my Facebook and look at it. They'll be on order and ready to sell and take orders the latter of September. I actually have the prototype, but the fans loved it, and I sold it on the internet auction. And I really didn't want to do that, but I knew there's more produced. It's really cool. It's got a live picture of me on the back. It's encased in plastic, and it's got number 95 as my number, representing 95 SummerSlam, which is really cool in Pittsburgh at the Pittsburgh Civic Arena, aka the Igloo. Also known, they filmed Sudden Impact, the Van Damme movie, there.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. Because I watch different movies. For instance, you'll watch Rocky and you'll see Madison Square Garden. The outside of it, that's legit. That wasn't the Madison Square Garden locker room. I've been in there. Okay, that's just movie. It's a sound stage. But the one in the Philadelphia Spectrum, Rocky 1 and 2, that's a shoot. Yeah. I've been in that locker room 1,000 times. And by the way, the Philly fans, Madison Square Garden and Boston Gardens despised Barry Horowitz as a heel. I did my job there. I friggin' loved it. Now they love me.
Back then, you were a pretty bad motherfucker, Barry.
But anyway, Barry, that's my biggest. That's what I'm doing. My biggest thing, besides entering my dream, entering the pro wrestling squared circle, if you will, I want to mentor. I want to teach. I like it. I have a passion. I don't need notes. Everything's here. I would love to teach for a small organization, or small or big. God forbid the performance center is 55 minutes from my house. Well, we don't want to bring Barry in. He could drive and work there twice a week and help us out, or maybe teach us something different. Not the whole company, just an idea. How many times you watch a football game and you go, they changed the offense? Well, who's that guy? He's the new offensive coordinator. He was the quarterback's coach, but nobody knows him. But all of a sudden, they respect him. Why? He's producing a great offense. Well, why can't you try that with me? I'm not whining. I'm legitimately bitching, because it's ludicrous. And some of the people that are there in other organizations, they need to be there. And then some, I don't know. I don't know how they're there. They've never did nothing in the business. They've never been in the business. They never even worked for Vince Sr. or Jr. But that's another story. There's the politics. But you're missing out on me, folks. You really are. You do what you want, but it's your loss. It really isn't mine. I would love to work for you, but it's your loss. And you don't want to even try me, but you'll bring in an indie guy, pay for his hotel, his rent-a-car, and have him do a speech or give a couple of backdrops to your students for an hour each day. Sorry, that's it's very unprofessional, very disrespectful, and I'm very disgruntled and very disgusted with their mindset. If that's what they want to do, though, they can do what they want. But I've proven them wrong so many times. so many times. So if that's what they want to do, good for them. And that's everything I'm doing.
Well, look, Barry, we'll also share that up in the Facebook groups as well, just to let everyone know where they can find you and
Yeah,
follow you, and
sure.
check out some of your merch as well. But guys,
Yeah.
it is time for the Australian slang game, so we're going to get into it. So, Barry, I did mention this on the phone to you last week. How this works is I'm going to give you an Australian slang word. I'll put it in a sentence, and you're going to tell me what that word means. Okay?
Okay.
All
I
right.
wish
So we'll
Keith
get.
Urban. I wish Keith Urban was here or Bill Dundee, but I can't cheat. So, oh well.
All right. So first one up is Dunny. Hey, Barry, can you point me in the direction of your Dunny? Dunny.
Um, point me in the direction of your dummy.
Dunny. Dunny. Dunny.
Oh, Dunny. Oh,
Dunny. Yes.
point me in the direction of your Dunny. Your home?
Toilet.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
All right. Next is flat out. Mate, I am flat out like a lizard drinking. Flat out.
I'm exhausted. I'm tired. I'm flat out.
Yeah, I'm really busy, like not being able to stop. I'm just go.
That's me.
All right. I don't know, mate. That seems a bit iffy. Iffy.
Oh, in wrestling jargon, iffy could be that's very kabuki-ish. That means peculiar. Something's up. Something's fishy.
Yeah, so something unreasonable, something risky. I'll take it.
Right.
All right. Next is legless. Oh, Barry, I got a bit legless last night, mate.
Tired or drunk?
Yep, drunk. There you go. You're on the board, man.
Okay,
All
and I
right.
don't even drink.
All right. So this next one is going to be a three-parter, okay?
Mm-hmm.
The words are going to be servo, bottle-o, and slab. All right. So I need you to go to the I need you to go to the servo and pick up some smokes. Then I need you to go to the bottle-o and pick up a slab.
Okay, the first one is go to a grocery store. The second one is go to the meat store, the meat market, or the deli.
Okay, so the first one, a servo, is a service station or a gas station.
Okay.
The second one is a bottle store, like a liquor store, and a slab is like a carton of beer.
Oh, never thought of that.
All right. Next one is root. 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 I had a root last night.
Had a fun time last night. I had a hoot.
I will say yes that you are correct. Having a root means that you had sex.
That's even better.
Yep. Okay. So this is another question going into that. Root. This is another one. Root rat. My buddy is a root rat.
Ring rat.
You know what? I'll actually take. I'll take that. A root rat is someone who is obsessed with sex. Just is always on the hunt. So,
okay.
All right. So another one is thongs. Oh, my thong feels a bit uncomfortable.
Underwear?
No, flip flops.
Oh my God. Okay, right.
So we call thong, different set of thongs. All right. Now, this is another 2-1. This is going to be 2 words. It's going to be franger and old fella. Hey, mate, I picked up this Sheila down the road. You wouldn't happen to have a franger for me old fella, would you?
Oh, okay. So you picked up a girl, and you have a rubber condom.
Yep. And the last bit of it, old fella.
To an old guy.
No. So if I say I need a franger for my old fella, I need a condom for my Johnson.
Oh, for my Johnson or in Carney, my Diazek.
Exactly. So we got a couple more that will go. Next is esky. Barry, do me a favor. Grab the esky from out of my car. It's okay. I'll put even more in it. Grab the esky out of the car. It's filled with piss.
Oh, a gallon jug?
An esky is a basically like a cooler. You put drinks in
cooler.
it, ice. Yep. And also when I say it's filled with piss, it means that there's heaps of beer and alcohol in it. So we call alcohol piss here in Australia. So
Okay.
that's why if any Australian says to you, hey, do you want to go drink some piss? It's not actually going and drinking urine. They want to drink some beers.
Actually good for you. You'll survive if you do that.
I've heard that, but we'll go one more.
Yep.
Hey, Barry, would you like a tinny?
Would you like a smoke?
No, a tinny is a can of beer. So a tin can.
Oh, right. That makes sense.
There you go. But guys, that's been the Guess the Australian Slang Game. This has been Shooting the Shit Uncensored. Barry, allow me to wrap up. Please stay where you are and we'll have a quick chat backstage. But guys, once again, I would just like to thank everyone for tuning in to watch this episode. Barry, thank you so much for your time. It's been an amazing time to sit down and... Sorry?
If you don't mind, before we leave, I just wanted to leave you with these two observations. You know, you could tell a guy from Australia, but you can't tell him much.
Wow. He's burying me on my own exit of my show. Well done, Barry.
And there's a lot of great wrestlers out there, I think, or they think they are, but Barry Horowitz, Mr. Technical, wrestles great.
Absolutely does. But Barry, thank you so much for your time coming on my show. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Pat yourself on the back. I'll pat myself on the back for bringing you on. Guys, thank you.
Hey, wait a minute. If you do that, that's gimmick infringement. I could sue you.
I'll be your Australian tag partner. No gimmick.
Oh, okay. Australian tag team rules.
That's it,
Jim
brother.
Ross would say.
But everyone, thank you so much for watching. Barry, thank you so much for being on the show. It's been a great
thank you so much.
And
I had
guys,
a blast.
We'll catch you next time, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.